This time on Captain Cass's laboratory, we are going to start off in the dark. We are working on the Department 56 Stardust Drive In Theater that either has a, I'm thinking it's a bad belt, but it could be a bad gear. But so the reason we're starting in the dark is so you can actually see this. So it's supposed to scroll and move images into the screen. The projector is right there. Pretty cool, huh? But it's stuck. And I can hear the motor, so I'm thinking the belt went bad. But you can't really see it unless the light's off, because this being an opaque screen and it reflects on the back, my lights pretty much negate the image. So I'm going to turn lights on. So this is 6 volts DC, center hot, and I don't know even how old this thing is, but she is definitely not anything new. 2001? So this is an oldie. It's pretty cool that it's a drive-in theater, and the bulb works. So here is the bottom. Here's the sides and the back. I'm not sure why there's a separate cover right here. It could be for the bulb, but the motor is right there. Oh, you can kind of see the silver. When I move my finger, that's the motor. So probably gonna have to take the whole base off, which doesn't appear to be overly difficult. It is about a dozen screws. I upgraded my screwdrivers. I still do use the manual ones, but I got a miniature electric one to help with my hands. So I'm going to tip it on its back, give it a little support. It'll stay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the outers first. Alright, this is the last of the outers, and we'll see if it comes off. Because I'm assuming there are some screws that have to hold the mechanism. No, so we're going to definitely try and take this screw out. That's it. So it's the outers plus that one that's just shy of the center. And there we go. That's pretty neat how it works, huh? So we got a 6 volt, 5 watt light. Good luck trying to find one of those right now. You have a projector lens right here. Fresnel lens, I believe that's what they call this, with a reflector behind it to reflect the image up through the plastic and then onto the back of the screen. So that's kind of a pretty cool setup. We have looks like a micro switch and a micro switch. Actually, that's It's not a micro switch. That is an IR sensor. There's two sets of wires, and these little paddles break the light, which tells it where it is in its position. It uses a screw with a washer for the strain relief. On this side, it is a micro switch, which hits underneath the paddles is a little bar that sticks down. The paddles are these black fingers sticking out there. Here's the motor. The motor is hooked up to this gearbox, which this gearbox then drives this outer ring. So let's, with it open, let's watch it do its magic. We might have to give it a little help to start moving, but this way I can at least try and hear and or see what the cause is. See, it's stuck right there. Yeah, something's definitely slipping. I can hear it clicking. Sounds like a broken gear. And now I know what that little access plate's for, so you can take the light bulb out. Makes sense. Something that will eventually burn out. I would recommend, if you can find one, try and find an LED. Reason I say that is this thing gets hot and I can see where the glue is discoloring from the heat. Alright, so let's take apart the gearbox. Jeez. Move that out of the way. Gear will look okay, but it does sound like it's binding and it's clicking. Alright. Just going to put my fingers on top of the shaft so the gears don't lock. So the gears are all turning, but this isn't. So whatever the problem is underneath this plate. So I'll kill the power again. I'm going to turn the power off here. And let's see how to remove this inner plate. I don't want to remove this. This was tightened and then glued to keep this lens in focus. So I just want to try and remove. Let's see what's underneath. It might just come off with that one screw, but let me remove this assembly here and see what's underneath it. Well, there's the problem. So, the problem is it is a bad gear. It's the one on the bottom. Okay, and this is not a standard style gear. So the first thing I'm going to do is wipe off all the grease and let the gear fall. And I want to take a look at this gear, see what the problem is on this gear. So the teeth aren't cracked, just this long nose right here is cracked. So you can see it kind of looks like a, say, a top hat. I'll put it under white. The teeth are fine. This white sorry, this top hat piece, the nose, is cracked. And everything else looks good. So this is definitely a specialty gear. They probably won't even make it anymore since, again, this unit's like 22 years old. But just for the giggles of it, let's see if any of these modern gears are close. This diameter may be an easy find, but it's the teeth that are going to be the hard. And this has got some pretty aggressive teeth. But there is a repair that we're probably going to end up doing, which is you fill the crack with glue, and then you push it on and you put a dab of glue on it to hold it in place. That's what I do with specialty gears they don't make anymore if the gear is salvageable. There's my other gears. These are all too small. Yeah, I don't remember what they call this style tooth, but the teeth are farther apart and have a rounded edge instead of a triangular point. Like these are micro gears. So I do have specialty gears like micro gears. I don't have these because they just don't use them that often anymore. Here's one, just so you can see it bigger, and it's white, so you can see how those teeth look compared to those teeth. And these overly large teeth are not very common, but that's what this has, are these large teeth, except this is a little bit smaller in diameter. So when I do come across these style gears, I do keep them, but I only have a few and none of them that small. So with some magnifiers, I just got to find that crack again. There it is. And I'm going to scrape it out. So I'm going to take the crack and turn it more into a V. So if you're familiar with welding, it's the same thing you do with welding when you're welding two pieces of metal, is you grind the edges down to give you more surface area. You're making a channel. I'm doing the same thing, except I'm basically plastic welding. I'm going to use super glue, which does bond to the plastic. And there we go. And that way, we hopefully will get a good bond. I'm also going to try and spread the crack open to get the glue to go all the way through. These things are so small. When I put it together, I will need this through the center. I can't glue it on and then push it through because it's just got to hold the size of the shaft. But I'm just going to clean any debris off the shaft. So I'm going to slide it back through. And we're going to clean it one more time because anything that might have been in the hole that it slides through. And we're going to get this. So let's see if I get this crack to spread just a little bit. So we're going to use the edge of the razor or X-Acto knife to open it. The reason it's coming up is not because I glued it, it's coming up because I had it in that crack. And now we're going to press it back on. Literally press it back on. Actually, I might be able to just tap it on real quick. There we go. The very bottom wasn't cracked, just the top, but I want to make sure that it stays. So I'm just going to put a little dab on the shaft. There we go. And I'm going to let that cure. Make sure that it free spins and I didn't glue it to the housing. So the gears that are up top here, the three of them, are standard hobby gears. Matter of fact, one of the gears I pulled out was this gear from that kit to see if it had a similar tooth pattern to the gears on the bottom. So I'm going to let that cure. While it cures, we're going to pop some of this back together again. Alright, so they're all in. I didn't want to make them too tight with the electric. I just want to make sure they're snug with a manual. Because of the age, I don't want it to crack. Now they're all good. So this is going to take a couple of minutes to fully cure. If you're a hobbyist and you're interested in something like this, this is the Fantic Nex E1 Max. It's if you got TikTok, they advertise on TikTok, so I figured I'd try it. I didn't buy it through the TikTok store. I bought it directly on Amazon. But it has 4 LED lights in the front to help illuminate, as you can see right there. They stay on for 10 seconds according to the manual. So there you go. The top is high, off, low. USB-C charger. And low to me is useless. Low, I can't get it to do anything, so I keep on high. Then you got your in and out, or down and up. The biggest selling feature to me was this magnetic bit holder. Because it's the same as these bits. So these little hobby bits, it's kind of nice that it has a magnetic holder. So you got the long ones, and then you got the 2 long Phillips right here. The 2, I want to go right there. It's got a Gausser and degausser to magnetize and demagnetize, because none of these bits are magnetic. That was annoying. So, and you can put it in here and wiggle it around to get some magnetism on these. They are held in magnetically because they are metal and they are magnetic, but they're not magnetic tipped, so they don't hold stuff. It comes with tweezers. I think the hardest thing about this whole kit is getting the pieces out. But it comes with little metal tweezers with a little rubber protector. And then it comes with this metal spudger. Because so somewhat pointy, rounded. Like I said, the hardest thing is getting these things out is because they're so recessed, so they fit inside their little case. That's my biggest complaint of this kit so far. So what I do is I usually just push the tip down and then pop it out. And then it just fits right back inside of its aluminum shell. And that's it. Apparently one of the things isn't in all the way. Tweezers. There we go. It just clicks in. And then if this doesn't have a bit, there you go. And then you just press the edge, and it pops it up. Pull your center out, and then you can pull your bits out if you need any. So if you're interested, I'll put a link below for the Fantic Nex E1 Max. I only got it because I have nerve issues with my hands, and sometimes from doing the screwdriver my hands get tingly, so I got this to help relieve some of the stress. So far, it's okay. You can't do a lot of high torque stuff, like when they're stuck. You gotta help break it free. And it's narrow. I'm used to, you know, like electronics or hobby screwdrivers are all narrow. But when you hold them like this, so you can spin them, because this part spins free. So this one's a little different because you're holding it like a fork or a pencil. You can press it with your thumb or your index finger, or if you're going straight down, you can just use your thumb, like so. But you know, it's not bad for hobbies. Apparently that. Let's see. Seems to be cured. See if it turns. Yes, turns. Cool. You don't want it to sit on in one spot too long because this heat will melt these little gels. So I just wanted to turn it on to make sure that it actually turned and I didn't get any glue on the shaft. But now it's time to test it. There we go. Go. I know there's another screw. It fell on the floor. I have to find it. So in the meantime, I'll just do 2 screws to make sure it actually works. It's interesting that these are upside down and backwards because when it goes through the lens, it's like your lens of your eye. They say everything's upside down backward, but your brain reverses it. So all these images are upside down and backwards, and they get magnified and refracted enough that it flips and it's perfectly fine on the screen. So this is one of those that if and when it breaks, you're going to have to do what you can to make it function again. Mainly because that gear is going to be really hard to find. Some of the Enesco pieces use that same style gearing, and I've had massive problems trying to locate them. Not a big fan of how that just lifted. This plate here is to keep this side down, and what happened when it lifted is this finger caught this plate. So I'm going to let it go around again, and I'm going to watch that plate. Actually, let's check, is it loose? Maybe it's just loose. It's loose. Being loose, it means the plate can move, and the edge of the plate can catch those fingers. Yeah, it smacked right there. And right there. And right there. So maybe it is too tight now. I think that's to counteract the torque of the motor on the left. It has to have something on the right. It also allows this micro switch to stay in alignment, which actually doesn't even have any wires to it, so it's just a spring switch or a spring tensioner. And it just rides. It's just got a little paw that's riding on the outside of the octagon or hexagon or decagon. I don't know how many sides are. I didn't count. I really don't know what that's for. This I know what that's for, but I don't know what that's for, other than just to keep tension. So the motor can't overspin, maybe? I'm sure the designers figured it out when they put it together. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe it's to stop the motor from overspinning, meaning that when the motor has the power killed to it by the circuit board, it doesn't go slightly out of frame. Still catching on that one. That's probably what's breaking the gear. Don't think the screw here is loose. Nah, it's glued in. I'm going to tell you, that thing is bright in your face, though. I'm just going to check this. Nothing special. It's just a piece of plastic. Let's see. It's bright. You can't see it from up there, but the reflection that goes through here and reflects off that is reflecting right into my face, because that's about the same angle as this hood. It's a rather bright light. Yeah, see, like that panel right here is way below that plate. So is the green, because they're colored. Next one, the blue. It's way below. So we started on the red that's right here. So it goes red, yellow, red. So I know once I hit the yellow, we've made a 360-degree circle. Once it's back together, I'll actually show you what this thing looks like in the dark going through all of its panels. This is the red, yellow, and there's the red that I started with. The green just barely touched it. The red just barely touched it. The yellow's underneath it. So I might just have a couple of warped fingers. And now we're gone exactly. There's the red we started with. So it's gone exactly 360 degrees. And it didn't get caught once. So, wow, that's bright. All right. Unfortunately, I believe that screw is going to be gone forever because where it went, it flew behind me when I hit it and it went under the étagère. But I have the same screws, just not in black. I can put this back one in real quick. Make sure these are all tight. Let's put her back together. Make sure none of these wires get caught because there's so many of them in this one corner. There we go. This is a pretty nifty little piece. I've never seen it before, and it doesn't fit what I do for Halloween villaging, but it's still actually pretty cool. They're rotating drum with images and then using a reflector, which in the early 2000s when this was made, it was about the time when we had projection TVs. It's basically the same as projection TV, just without all the different color heads. So we probably just miniaturized it. That's all of them. All right. I'm going to go turn off some lights. And let's fire up the drive-in theater. Hopefully it'll work on its back. It should. The white spot from the camera is horrible. I don't know if there's any way I can tip this to where you... There we go. It's not that bright. The camera is making it way brighter than it actually is. There is no big blinding white spot in the middle. It is brighter in the middle, don't get me wrong, but it's perfectly clear images. This one says, go visit our, concessions. Jeez. Delicious hot dogs. Visit our refreshment center. Yum yum. Just in case you can't see it, because it just shows like a U here in my viewfinder. Make this drive-in theater a regular habit. Have a wonderful time. Come back soon. That's where I tipped it and started it. So we'll go one more, so it should be the full 360. Good night. That's a good one to tip it back on. So, and this one's every... Good evening, folks, and with a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. Visit our refreshment center during intermission or any time. That was the one I couldn't read that changed. So, that is the Department 56 Stardust Drive In Theater. And there it is, the box right there. Retired. That's a sticker that was put in the box. And if you have one, it is repairable. Pretty much everything in it, except that one gear. That one gear is going to be the hardest thing that you're going to have to deal with. So hopefully it doesn't break. If it does break a gear, hopefully it's one of the 2 standard hobby gears. The light bulb, it's a 6-volt DC light bulb. This thing draws 0.8 amps, so this thing is 800 milliamps on average. 810 is what it's spiking to when it turns the screen. When it's not turning the screen and it's just on, it's pulling 790 milliamps, so it's a 28 milliamp draw on that motor at the moment. So make sure that you use a 6-volt power supply that's rated for 1 amp or higher if you lose your power supply. Right now this is plugged into my machine. You can see the LED clips right there. That's because it didn't come with a power supply, and my 6-volt power supply is 100 milliamps, which would get really hot trying to power this at 8 times the power supply's output. But just watching it on my machine, it's going between 790 and 810. So if you do lose your power supply, center hot, standard barrel connector, 6-volt, 1 amp minimum. If you find one that says like 2 amps, you're fine, or 7 amps, which is going to be really rare. But you get the point. If it says 500 milliamps or 0.5 amps, that's too low. You'll overheat your power supply. Now, if you can change this bulb to an LED, if you can find an LED bulb that will be that size, it'll draw a lot less power. Because that 790 milliamps, when it's just sitting like it is right now where it's not scrolling, is the light. That's why a lot of things have gone from incandescence to fluorescence to LED. And that's because power consumption. Incandescents draw the most amount of power because it's basically just a dead shorted wire, and it gets hot. Heat consumes more power. Fluorescents draw less power, and then LEDs like here and there, and the big ones I have off at the moment, they don't draw near as much power. They also don't get as hot, so that's one of the reasons they're more efficient. But if you can find one, you could probably get away with a 0.5 amp or 600 milliamp power supply. I still recommend going 1 amp because of that motor. That is a very good high-powered motor. It's not being utilized till its fullest potential, but it is oversized for what this is, so it can handle the torque of moving that big ring that has all the panels on it. So she's still scrolling. So I think we're good. Super glue, just dig out the crack if you can. If your gear is completely split, you have a completely different issue. You might be able to find a gear. I have in the Nesco, couple of Nesco music box pieces. A Nesco used those big gears a lot, but they are slightly larger than what's in here. They're like this size and bigger, like I was showing you. Parts pieces, you might be able to find a parts piece. Might is a very large word in that because of how old this is and how probably rare it is. So other than that, that is the drive-in theater. If you have one, you're probably lucky because this is actually a pretty cool piece. And if you have it and it's broken, it's really easy to take apart. You got like 8, 9 screws in the bottom. Unscrew those. Top comes off. It's easily removed. You just have to worry about your trees because they're attached to the base on the wings. And then you saw there's 3 screws that hold the top of the gearbox on, 3 screws to hold the whole assembly on. As long as your reader and your, I'm going to say, tensioner and guide on this side aren't damaged, you should be good. If your tensioner is damaged, it should be replaceable. You can probably fabric cobble something. And if your guide's bad, you just take a piece of plastic, cut it, make it fit over the hole, make sure your spacing is right, and you can replace that. If your readers are bad, there's another problem altogether. Hopefully you can just replace the LED, infrared sending unit, and receiver. They just solder right here, but as long as it's not on the board where the problem is. That's very important. Light accesses from the bottom, from that black panel. Just unscrew it, replace your light. Make sure it's 6 volt. Don't get 120 and wonder why it's not working. And if you can, find an LED. And it'll save you some power consumption and heat. So, other than that, that sums up this piece. Until the next one, thanks for watching.